What is up, my friends? Welcome to another episode of the Whole Health of Rob Carney podcast. And on this episode, we got a very special guest by the name of Miss Lyssa Scott. And Lyssa has very quickly become a very good mentor and friend of mine in my life. And she is partners with my friend Zavi. So if you don't follow Zavi, Stoke Communication, formerly known as Organic Health Movement, you know he's a cool dude. So you know he's going to choose a cool partner here. And Miss Lyssa and I met for the first time in person back in North Carolina. She hosted a retreat, which she so kindly invited myself and my brother Jordan to. And this was back in, I think it was May. And so since then, I've just been following the Rip on Life lifestyle that Lyssa puts out there. And I've been a part of her weekly call she does for her business mentoring. And it's been a pleasure to get to know her as an individual and as, a business mentor. So without further ado, Lyssa Scott.
Hey, what's up, peeps? I'm super happy to be on today, Rob. And man, you coming into that retreat I felt such a wave of good energy as soon as we all got into that house. But what struck me about you and Jordan was how seamless that was. And I know that I've said it many times to you guys, but I think it's important to note here that it's funny how when you have the same underlying beliefs as someone, you meet them and you feel like you're remembering instead of learning, right? And I'm like, man, I just feel like I know you from somewhere. Like we already feel like tight friends. And then that whole week, you and Jordan and Zavi kind of like held down the fort, as Allie was saying, one of our other gals in the crew. And it wouldn't have been the same without you guys. So what a cool start to basically live with each other for a week. Hey, nice to meet you. Want to live together for a week, right? I always joke around. That's how retreats sometimes feel. That's how Zavi and I met on a retreat, just like that. So just super, super cool. The relationships form deep and they form fast. And I think it's really just a testament to getting together with people who share the same mindset as you. They share the Rip on Life. You like dropped right into that. And so shout out to Rob. But I'm super stoked that we're doing this. And yeah.
100%. Yeah. And I think like what it comes down to is getting a group of people together that are ready to be open, ready to be vulnerable, ready to share, ready to grow. Because people don't spend their time and energy and their money to go to a retreat unless they are really ready to get something out of it. So I think that's what's really powerful about the retreats. And like we were saying, having the opportunity to just be yourself is something that most of us don't do on a regular basis. And it takes a lot of practice and a lot of callousing of the mind to really get to a point that we can really show up as ourselves. And it's funny today, I'm wearing an orange shirt today for anybody listening that can't see the video. I don't know if I've ever worn an orange shirt, but I bought this at Polyface Farm and I got it because like, wow, that's something different. It's going to spice up the Rob collection. And I see Lyssa is wearing a CrossFit headband. She's got some skull and crossbones on her shirt. I don't think I've ever seen Lyssa wear a skull and crossbones, but I've seen the CrossFit. So it's like just showing up different every single day, but just owning it. And, I love the fact that, you can just experiment and do whatever the hell you want and be yourself, and you shine your voice very eloquently. So I just want to, we can just keep complimenting each other for a little while. If we want to start that
way. Sorry guys, for those of you who are listening, you're like, this is just a giant sap fest. I'm on you. But no, originality and style. Let's go into that for a minute, because that's something that I am newly putting words to. Something that I've appreciated for a long time. It started, I think, when I was about 15 or 16. I think that's when most of us become super impressionable when it comes to clothing and outwardly expressing yourself, and tattoos. Like we start to think about what tattoos we're going to get when we're 18, or if you had cool parents, maybe when you were 16. But I remember going to see live bands play, local bands, and always noting what I liked about what the performers were wearing. Like whether it was beat up Chuck Taylors, whether it was a leather journal hanging out of their back pocket, there was something to that for me, like curating your own look and vibe and letting it be you, right? Like I used to get so frustrated back in high school and college of like, everyone wears the same 10 things, blah, 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 blah. And my mom used to have to say to me, like, Liz, they're not all in tune with this like value that you have of being yourself. That's not on their radar. Like they're just buying what's at the store because they just need to wear clothes to class. And I'm like, I guess you're right. And so I started to pick that up. And now that's something that really translates into having your own personal brand, right? What colors do you wear? What colors do you use? What language do you use? And I think it's so fascinating how those tie backs to our 15, 16-year-old self, right? Like you were always in there, you're just learning to come out bolder and bolder and bolder. I think it's so powerful when you can step into that. And the clothing is just a part of that, but so cool that you brought that up.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was kind of the polar opposite. Where in high school, I was just wearing sweatpants and a sweatshirt every day. So I didn't give a shit about. I was just like, kind of like you said about, people just buying stuff to go to class. Mine was like, why would I want to be uncomfortable sitting at a desk all day? So I'm going to dress as
Yeah.
comfortable as possible. And that kind of lasted into like freshman year of college, and then after a little while, kind of got to a point, like you said, it was like, man, this is not really the expression that I want to put out to the world. This is
Mhm.
not the image that I want to portray to the world. And that was something that really, I think, didn't quite hit me until I started my own business. And even so after that, a year and a half in, like really the past year and a half, I'd say, has been where I've had the realization where I remember, for the Purium company that I'm partnered with, once I reached the diamond rank, which is like a big notable rank, and I went on the company call and I was wearing like a cutoff. And one of my mentors was like, yo, why'd you show up in the company called? And I was just so not thinking about it. It wasn't like a big deal, but like in hindsight, it was like, wow, how we show up to the world, because that could be a first impression somebody gets.
Right.
And I think that's something like you're saying about our language, about our attire, about our, our energy that we show up with can really give that first impression. If we give something off that's not really congruent with who we are, or inauthentic, some action that could completely throw somebody off, and that could stop somebody from creating a relationship with you. I think that's a part that worries me the most. Is like, man, what if there's a relationship I could have built from one of these moments that I didn't show up as myself because I was kind of lazy in that regard? And I think it's important to note that how we show up really does matter.
Yes. And like the counter is also true is whatever you're doing, you're going to attract or repel, right? Somebody's going to say, hell yeah, Rob's casual. I dig that. And I want to be friends with him. And somebody's going to roll their eyes and be like, this guy in the cutoff,
Good
right?
point. Good
And
point.
so it's this fine line of like showing up polished, like you care, right? My hair is up. I have this headband on. I'm not like, I don't look like I roll out of bed, but I'm also by no means in a blazer and like sitting at this desk with this backdrop. It's just not me. So how you show up should be intentional, but also it should be authentic to you. And
Yeah.
so if authentic to you is a balance between stuffy corporate and laid back sloppy, right? We got to strike that balance. And so for me, like in those situations, I hate getting dressed up. Fun fact about Lyssa Scott, hate it. Unless it's like I can wear a dress and it's a wedding, maybe that's all right. But business casual, it's my least favorite phrase on the earth. Can't stand it. And close behind is mandatory. Mandatory business casual. I'm like, can't do it.
How about just mandatory in general? That's not a fun word either.
No, it's not. So, I struggled with that for a long time. Is like, what's my look when I have to dress up? And what I realized was like minimalist.
Hmm.
Just like, can I just wear a black t-shirt with white jeans, right? Black and white, doesn't get more simplistic than that, with some like black shoes. Can you just not stand out that day, right? Can you just go minimalist, go rogue? And it's still an expression of me. It's just this like polished denim, leather. Like I always say that, like black, white, neutrals. There's like ways to polish up and then ways to look laid back. Like I have a pair of tie-dye pants. It's about the opposite of polish, but it's still on brand. How could something that vast still be on brand, right? So interesting to think about. That's one of the things I'm super passionate about is like helping people build out their personal brand. And we're actually going to talk about that on one of our calls coming up. So it's super, super stoked. How do I use language, color, clothing to represent me? Rob, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to showing up authentically, and just like we're saying that for me, I mostly wear a dark green or an army green. Those are kind of my
Yeah.
main colors. That's what I naturally gravitate to. Green's my favorite color, but part of me is also just being spontaneous. So spontaneously throwing on an orange shirt today is also, like you said, not like someone would associate the color with me, but my actions of spontaneity and say, yeah, why not? Let's give it a try. Kind of just going with the flow type of attitude is, like we said, it's on brand. And I think that's something that, as we start to develop our own voice, as we, speaking to entrepreneurs in this specific target audience right now that I'm speaking about, is as we start to develop our voice, that being authentic is what's going to be sustainable for a business in the long run. Because I think it's so easy to try to hop on trends and say,
Mhm.
hey, I'm going to do this because this is popular, but then you're just trend hopping the whole time. And then it's like, yeah, you're up and down and up and down. But what if you had just this, and obviously nothing's a straight line, but more of a straight line when you're just being yourself and learn to be yourself. And yeah, maybe a little bit more slow and steady. But I think that the authenticity and the consistency, and I always tell people patience, persistence, consistency. Those are my
Mm.
big three for achieving any goal. That could be business goal, it could be health goal. Yeah, I just think in general, people need permission at times to be themselves because we're so conditioned to believe, oh, you got to fit into this box. But I don't think that has to be the case. And I think, I'd love to just have you share your experience of becoming a business owner and how that shaped your image, how that shaped how you show up in the world, how that shaped your daily routines, and all these little things that I'm sure changed very drastically, because I know that you were working in the restaurant industry before to now being a business owner. So I'd love to just hear that transition in the personal side of Lyssa Scott.
Yeah, get me to talk about things I don't talk about a lot. I love it, Rob. Um, you know, I think you and I were saying this a little bit before we hit record today, is like, do it, but make it you.
Mm,
So do restaurant, but make it you. Do business, but make it you, which is what I was getting at with the black and white outfit, right? And I think it's really interesting, at least for me. I can only share my own experience. So maybe people gather inspiration from different places. But I was always fascinated with rock stars and musicians. I was always fascinated with artists. I identify with them. I felt like they gave words and imagery to things I couldn't express on my own. And that's what makes things resonate. When someone says something and you're like, oh, yeah, that's what I've been trying to say, right? That's when you really latch on to whatever they're doing in the world. And so I remember as a kid, like laying out outfits for trips and being like, this is like my rock star capsule wardrobe that's going into this suitcase with me on this trip, right? Same thing when I lay out clothing for a photo shoot for the business now. It's like, what are the elements that are going to repeatedly show up so that I can develop a sense of like people feeling like they know me? And what you were saying about if you're constantly trend hopping, hashtag exhausting, right? If you are the straight line, be careful how much you deviate off of the straight line. The more deviation, the more exhaustion, the more up and down. These little ripples, I buy a couple trendy pieces of clothing or jewelry or accessories every season, but I buy a couple, right? I don't change my whole wardrobe out. I pick two or three things. I'm like, you know what? I want boots like that and a bag like that and some earrings like that. We're good, right? And then like next season, I'll do the same thing. And that is super fun to just have those pieces that stay forever. That's the clothing piece of it for me. Is like, do it but make it look like a rock star, do it but make it look like an artist. But for someone else, and maybe do it and make it look like an athlete. I was always trying to figure out ways to make athletic apparel even look more artsy, and some of it is adding the necklace, some of it is adding the tattoos to my arms, right? Wanted to look like, I remember I had my quarter life crisis, so to speak, when I left my corporate job, had nothing lined up, and started working in the restaurant industry, started doing all these things. And my parents were like, what are you doing? And I said, I have no idea, but I'm not, it's death before 9 to 5. And they're like, well, what do you think you might want to do after this season of restaurant life? Because we're not going to work in a restaurant forever. And I said, no, right now it's paying the bills. Right now I'm getting my steps in every day and I'm getting to the gym every day. And that was what I cared about at the time. And so I had this fork in the road where it was like, are you going to be a CrossFit coach or a tattoo artist? And I came to this realization: who hangs out in tattoo shops? If you have you been in one recently? Because usually there's someone smoking a cigarette and usually there's someone bitching about something. Not the environment I want to be in 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. Love going to get inked. Also love leaving when I'm done. Right? Also not outside a lot when you're in a tattoo artist. So I was like, all right, maybe not a tattoo artist. On the CrossFit side, there's no limit on how many tattoos you can have. Nobody's not hiring you as a coach because you got tattoos on your fingers. So I was like, maybe I'll be a CrossFit coach who just looks like a tattoo artist. And then I found my happy medium with that, right? So as I became that CrossFit coach, my lifestyle was shifting. And Rob, I want to circle back to your original question. Do you mind bringing me back for a second?
sure. Yeah. My original question was just and you're answering it, is what changed in this journey of, being an employee to now being a business owner?
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure I was like narrow and focused in there. So I first had to decide that I valued freedom more than security, right? And there was this like true sit down with myself and be like, what do you want out of life? My dad died when he was 43, when I was 15. And I realized that month, that week, whatever, very, very immediately, oh my gosh, we think we're going to live to be 80 and we might only live to be 43 or 23, heaven forbid, right? And so, how are you going to create this legacy, this impact? And I just knew to follow my hunches in the areas in which I was interested and passionate, because passion will override reason, it will override circumstances, it will override adversity every single time. So just follow your passion. So the restaurant was paying the bills, the CrossFit and the coaching was passion. And in that, I realized, okay, I don't just want to make an income, I want to make an impact. And so the fitness industry was the lowest hanging fruit because it's the tangible, it's the physical body. And there's a clear path laid out. Many people have gone on to become fitness coaches, online fitness coaches. There's plenty of footsteps to follow in. So I started to trek down that road, knowing that it wasn't my ultimate summit. And in that process, I'm trying to speed the story up because there's a lot to it. In that process, I found myself coaching nutrition, found myself coaching fitness. I found myself being obsessed with the details and obsessed with the big picture simultaneously, that synergy of what are we doing right now because what do we want to do big picture? And in that, started to realize I need to coach more than health and fitness. And someone else can teach you how to do a back squat. Someone else can teach you how to get your proteins up. Someone else can teach you how to eat your greens, but I want to teach you how to rip on life. And part of that is taking good care of your body and your mind and your spirit. And so there was this mind, body, spirit cultivation within myself when I quit that job and was forced to get quiet and forced to sit with my feelings and not just work 80 hours a week anymore. That forced me to be like, what am I doing here? And so I was like, man, if I could facilitate that for other people and then help them design their life, heck yes. And so the business morphed from nutrition and fitness with mindset to mindset with like more like life coaching and lifestyle design to personal growth, which is all of that stuff, and business growth, because I'm really passionate about helping people make the impact they want to through their businesses. And so for me, I guess dialed in my habits more, dialed in my intentions more, got into stillness way more than I thought I ever would need to. But that was crucial, is like, if you're going to take action, it can't just be messy action all the time. Messy action is great to start, but it will not carry you. You've got to get intentional somewhere along the way. So I hired a mentor, Graham, and forced me to put things on paper. Girlfriend, what do you actually want? Was the question he asked me. And I was like, I want to teach people to rip on life, was what I said about 3 weeks later, right? It took me some time to form that thought, but living life at maximum potency, not letting it pass you by, became like the cornerstone or the overarching umbrella. And from that, everything was built under it. And so that clarifying vision carried me from a girl who was working in a bar to a girl who's working in a bar and coaching to a girl who's just coaching, right? And I would say none of it was an accident. It was so freaking cool.
Well, thank you for sharing that, first of all. And, you know, I think that comes down to being intentional, like we were saying earlier, being authentic, being you, because at the end of the day, like you said, you could have been just a fitness coach. That would have been cool. You probably been really good at it. I'm sure you were very good at it and still would be if you're good to this day. But that wasn't quite you. And so you kind of had to carve your own lane of kind of combining some of these little pieces together to make it your own. And I think that, in my experience, you know, in my own life and other people's, is I think that's the key, is really making it your own. Because if you don't love what you do, it's going to get old pretty quickly. And like you said in the beginning, it's totally cool to just, you know, throw shit against the wall and see what sticks, because I think that's part of the process. And that's what I did for the first like 2 years of my business, maybe longer, to be honest. And so now, you know, it'll be year 3, right? Probably right around the time that this is coming out. And I feel like now I'm just starting to hit my stride. Like, I'm starting to just figure out, like, things are starting to click now. And it took almost 3 years for things to click and have all this clarity come together. Before, I was trying to do too much, have my hands in too many buckets, trying to wear too many hats. And then it came down to simplifying. But I think had I not gone through the messy phase, and not to say I've made it or I'm through it or like I'm figuring it out. But I think we need to go through that messiness to some degree. We need to try some of these different things. We need to try to be a strength coach, be a nutrition coach before we find what we really want to do. And I think that we can look at these things like we're often conditioned to believe and told that, oh, you did that. Oh, that was a failure. Oh, that didn't work out. But it's like, no, it's actually just part of the growing process. And I can't remember if it's like Einstein or some, really important person that was like, oh, like you failed like a million times. Like, how'd you keep going? I was like, no, I didn't fail. I just started crossing off things that didn't work.
Edison. Yeah, it was Edison who said
Edison,
that
yeah,
when he was doing the light bulb. Absolutely. Yeah. It's so, so true. And, was it a dead end? Because dead ends are blessings. I know it sounds
right.
weird to say
Definitely.
that.
I agree.
But one thing I learned last year was if you're praying for clarity, I'm super faith-based, super strong in my spirit. If you are praying, God, show me the way, God, show me the way. When something's a clear no, you prayed for clarity. Don't be mad you got it, right?
Exactly.
It's such a blessing. You're like, oh, pivot, not that way. And so I always joke around that, back in lacrosse, we would do these pivot drills, and I didn't know how much that was mentally going to serve me later in life. So funny, so wild. So Rob, what are some of the pivots you made in your business? Let's hear a little rundown.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll start in 2018 when I moved back from LA with 10 grand in credit card debt. It was kind of the start of my journey, and I'd been working with a startup company in the medical device industry, which is pretty cool. It's a preventative screening tool, really powerful, like $50,000 piece of equipment. So, learned a lot about startup companies, learned a lot about sales and marketing, and learned a lot of what not to do because the company ultimately didn't quite start up the way that we'd hoped, and hence $10,000 of credit card debt.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot what not to do. And again, that could be perceived as a failure. And a lot of people, when I moved back to Boston from LA, were like, oh, I'm sorry it didn't work out. And it was like, I mean, yeah, like me too, but also at the same time, I learned so much. Now there's so many what not to do. Like you said, like the dead end actually opened the door and kind of was that final pain point to get me to start my own business, which I've always wanted to do. I've always
Yeah.
had this entrepreneurial bug. I've always done little, I used to sell Pokemon cards on eBay. I do all these little things, landscape. Like I didn't want a regular job, work on farms, like basically anything to not be at a desk. And,
Yes.
even with the startup company, we're doing a lot of trade shows. So, we'd fly to different places across the country, set up a booth, talk to all these people on my feet all day, talking, to really cool people. So, that was always a big piece of, I knew I couldn't sit at a desk all day. I just cannot sit still that long. I get antsy. I need to move my body. Not for me. Many more reasons I won't get into. But so it started off when I moved back and I said, hey, I'm going to start my business. It started off as a referral network. Over the years, since I was 17 and to that point, 25 or so, 18 to 25, 7 years, I was working with a bunch of different holistic practitioners, acupuncturists, massage therapists, either as an intern, either they were, working on me, or I worked for them as an employee. So basically this big network of practitioners in Boston. And so I was referring people to them and getting a commission for the referral, basically making my own affiliate marketing system. But I quickly realized that that was not very sustainable to get a one-time commission for something that takes me many hours. And it's, because I also don't want to screw over the practitioner, take all the, a big chunk of change. It was like 30 something bucks sometimes for like hours of work. So I realized after 6 or so months, this isn't going to work. So I had to pivot. And then one of my friends from UMass Amherst, where I did my undergrad, he started a business called Mushroom Revival. Alex Dorr is the founder. He's the first organic cordyceps and multi farm in the U.S. So he has organic mushroom tinctures. And so then I was like, oh, well, products, people can buy these every month. And so I was like, oh, that's a light bulb. Now there's, now I make a sell once and somebody can keep buying again and again. So there's a little bit of residual there. And then, then after a while, I started continuing to study and had the realization, is like, wait a second, I've been referring people to different practitioners, but I have a lot to share as well. What if I became the practitioner? And
Oh,
that
yeah.
was another big moment. So it's basically starting off with one thing and not completely scrapping it, but kind of using it as opposed to referring people to other people. I became the person to refer people to. Instead of referring people to practitioner, I refer people to products. So it became this cohesive unit that took me at that point, like 8 or so months, maybe 10 months to really get to that point. And then the next year and some changes was trying to figure that whole thing out. And now
Yeah.
I'm entering year 3, and I feel like I've got a lot more clarity where now I've, kind of got some of those things pat down a little bit and got some courses coming out, and just really continuously just making these micro adjustments. Like you said, instead of going up and down, it's like a little up, a little down, a little up, a little down,
Mhm.
but the trend is going up. And I think that's, again, consistency, patience, persistency.
Most good things in life are not linear.
Right.
Love,
100%.
grief, business, right? Progress in general is usually not linear. And so I think that that's spot on. And an entrepreneurial truth, pretty much every entrepreneur I've talked to agrees with this. Year 1 is testing, year 2 is figuring it out, and year 3 is rocking it out. You're like, finally, I have this clarity. Finally, I have this direction, right? And so, same thing with me. It was like, well, okay, what service could I provide? Well, I could probably write some really dope workouts. I've been studying for them for 4 years, and I know how to eat clean, and I know how to make a meal breakdown. Let's just start with what I know, right? And then you start to turn yourself into a better resource, which I think is kind of what you were just saying, is like all of these pieces turned you into a great resource. You were
Right.
learning from people, you're doing sales. Like, if you are scared to get on a Zoom call and talk to a stranger, go be a waitress or a salesperson, and in 6 months to a year, you will be cured of that.
Right.
Just go like, I had to walk up to approximately 40 tables a night of strangers and introduce myself and be like, hey guys, right? And make them like me. So they would tip me well. It is so effective to just go start talking to people. The trade show thing, same deal. Like, not a failure that I was a waitress. Actually, a really great asset that I got to work in that bar. The other thing was like, go to the place where people need your help. A few girls I waitress with became clients, and I got to have a unique perspective. If you're a coach and you only hang out with coaches who are into health and fitness and body and mind, you think everybody meditates. You think
Right.
everybody,
Right.
you start to think everybody's got it figured out and the world doesn't need you. And when you put yourself back into the world, so to speak, you have this insight. What do people bitch about? Where do people struggle? Are people still living on Mountain Dew and Gatorade? Absolutely. Can you teach them a better alternative? How do you bring someone into awareness? And like, this is getting into some deeper stuff, but how do I bring the coworker who's drinking Coca-Cola 2 liters a day? How do I bring him into awareness that that's not going to go well long term
Right.
without being a bitch? Right? You start to learn how to talk to people. So it's just super amazing. Like, none of those stepping stones were failures. They were all stepping stones. And so that reframe is huge, Rob.
100%. And, that comes down to the fact is we just need to keep showing up, because at the end of the day, we just need to put ourselves into more situations, more uncomfortable situations. Because the most comfortable thing for me right now, like you just said, would be to hang out with other health and wellness coaches. That would be the most comfortable place in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if I show up and go to trade shows, at a wellness fair, or go to, and not that that's super uncomfortable for me, I feel pretty good about those. But like you said, I'm interacting with people that may not be on the same, lifestyle that I am. Like you said, sometimes I forget, oh, you people don't all drink spring water and eat all organic food. And
What? Yeah.
it's like, oh, like I forgot that's a reality. Oh, you don't
Yeah.
drink water? Oh, okay. And so it's funny to hear you say that, because that's definitely something that I recognize. It's important to have that touchback with reality. And that was something a few weeks ago. I went on vacation with my family and some of my high school friends who I haven't seen in a while, who do not have the same, health values as me. And it was a
Mm-hmm.
really big reminder that, oh, not everybody is in this way. And like you said, there's definitely a lot of people on this planet that I can help with that. And now
Yes.
it's finding that fine line of, like you said, not coming off as, oh, your lifestyle is lesser than mine. I'm better than you. I'm healthier than you. I'm talking down to people, but just kind of opening the door and be like, hey, maybe you're a little hungover today. Oh, like you drink some water. Oh, maybe have a little salt with that. Oh, maybe have a little magnesium. Like, just sprinkling some little things that are going to plant that seed. And then once they start to feel a little bit of a change, oh, I had one last soda today and I had some water instead, and now I don't have a headache. I usually have a headache when I get home from work.
Mm-hmm.
What's that about? Oh, let me go talk to Rob more, because I think there's something here. So a
Yeah.
lot of it is just getting in the field and talking to more people. And I think at the end of the day, it's like we're saying, continuing to stay educated, continuing to obviously be around people that we want to be more like, and surrounding ourselves with those like-minded people. but also, like you said, not being afraid to go into the real world to have the reminder of what the masses are doing, because a lot of those people could probably really use our help. And I want to open myself up to as many people as I can while still maintaining my own energy and not draining myself. But I think that that's where I hope to inspire and help as many people as I humanly can.
Yeah, and so you're getting into this idea, Rob. That was beautiful what you just said about your core versus your outreach, right? And so your core needs to be people, iron sharpens iron. They need to be people who are walking the same walk as you so that you can have encouragement. The other day I had a moment. I was waking up in bed. I was not feeling super motivated. This happens to me like once or twice a month. It used to happen every other day, right? So it's getting better. But I was like, man, like the world feels super unsteady right now. Like, I don't know. And I hear this whisper in the back of my mind, and it's like, you should have a backup plan. And I
Yes.
knew it wasn't from God. I knew it wasn't from the source of light. And I was like, what is this doubt? What is this fear? And I started laying in bed and thinking of all the people in my life who don't have a backup plan. Because if you have a backup plan, you already believe that your plan is not going to work,
Right.
right? And so Rob, sure enough, Rob's first person to pop into my mind. Zavi, group of our friends. I'm not going to name them all by name here, but shout out to you guys who are doing it with no backup plan, because you keep me doing it. Your core people need to be people who are encouraging you to live the way you want to live, whatever that looks like. But I'm going to relate this to the church for just a second. If Christians only talk to Christians, they never disciple and make more Christians. No one ever hears about the faith. Similarly, if health coaches are only friends with health coaches, they never bring more people into health, right?
Right.
If business coaches never talk to people who hate their job, they never get anyone to quit their job and create their own business. So there's this combination. And I say, there's an analogy. You should, if the bonfire is where all the people who hang out, who need your help, you need to make sure that every day your t-shirt smells like smoke, right? You got to go to that bonfire. You got to go to that, whatever it is, the bar, go work in a restaurant. And you guys, a couple minutes ago, Rob said, go to a health trade show. My guess is that costs money. If you want to really work the system, go get a part-time job where your ideal client hangs out. So for me to go back to a bar, you know how many waitresses wish they could start their own business? A lot of them, right? To go position myself, I'm actually getting paid to be there, and I'm connecting with people. And same thing, health coaches, go get a job at a float spa or an athletic recovery facility. Your ideal client is walking in the door all day, and they're going to pay you to be there. So super valuable where you spend your time and how you expand that network. It's not just social media all the time, right? Use your
100%.
feet.
Yeah, and I think an important thing you said that I really like is just saying not having the backup plan. And that's something that I know was always in the back of my head until realistically a few months ago. Like you said, it wasn't always there, but it would pop up. And then it was probably 2 or 3 months ago that I really decided, like, no, I'm not. I'm burning the ship. Like the ship
Mhm.
home is burnt. Like there's no escape now. I'm on this island. I'm doing the path that I set out to do. I'm not giving myself a backup plan, because when I do, then I sit here and on days that are tough, instead of taking the action to get me closer to my goal, I would start thinking about, oh, what if I got that job? Oh, what if I got,
Yes.
and instead of being solution orientated, and like you said earlier, freedom versus safety, instead of going towards the freedom, I was going towards the safety. Not that there's anything wrong with safety. We all want our baseline survival needs met. We want a roof over our head. We want food in our belly. We want water in our system. We want love in our life. But beyond that, it's very easy to let this attachment to money be the determining factor of what leads us away from freedom and towards safety. And obviously, we're seeing that in a giant shift in our society as a whole right now, where people are willing to give up freedom to go towards safety.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, the way I look at it is I'm going to bet on myself. I opened up a credit card with 14 months of no interest, and I'm not just blowing money on it, but I'm putting in some things on that. It's like, hey, rather than putting myself into this, oh shit, I only have this amount in my bank account, I'm going to put that on there because I'm betting on myself and I believe in myself enough that I'm not going to be reckless about it. I've never been a reckless spender, but I'm going to put a little bit out because it takes a little bit of that financial load off. And rather than saying, oh, I need to get a job so I can do this, this, and this, I'm saying, hey, I have faith. And I think faith is a big part of business as well. I have faith in where I'm going. I have faith in who I am. And I trust myself. I trust the process that, when the time comes, this is due. And, another argument is that inflation is so high that I'm actually saving money by putting it on there, but that's a whole nother discussion. But so I have faith in myself that this is going to work out, because things are working out. They're trending in the right direction. And sometimes instead of taking out a loan with a bank or one of these other organizations that's going to cost interest, I'm basically taking out a loan for myself and investing in myself, investing in my business, going to help me grow. And that comes from burning the ship and not having that backup plan.
Yeah.
And that's not
Amen.
financial advice for anybody. Don't do what I do. This is what's working for me. I'm not saying go do that, because that's not something that I think works for everybody.
Right. You have to ultimately tap into what feels true for you, what feels good for you, and go from that place. And that's what I wanted to bring up, was how Rob shifted from safety as number one to freedom back as number one, right? Or passion as number one. And the one thing that I've always found that works, it's like the how to pull myself out of fear and scarcity 101, is getting quiet, getting still, following the pull, saying that prayer. However you tap into the great source of this plane, right? We've got the universe going horizontal and we've got faith going vertical. And for me, it's like I need to tap into both, what's going on here and now, and also the bigger picture that I can't see. And I personally believe that God is using me every day. He has me in an ideal position at all times. And when I get still and I tap back into that, the thought of a part-time job withers away, right? It's like I'm actually secure in my faith, which sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not. And so the security, the earthly security, this is really getting a little bit deep here, is an illusion.
Right.
You could wake up tomorrow and your whole bank account the whole internet could be shut off and gone.
Yes.
Your Instagram could be gone, your bank account, all your digital money could be gone. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of doomsday prep, but if you really think that's about to happen, you should have some pesos and some US dollars and some other, right, crypto maybe.
Silver, get silver.
Whatever it is, right? Some alcohol that you can barter with, whatever it's going to be. But I just think it's super interesting, like how I get back into security mode is actually by pursuing the freedom deeper, which is a crazy concept to kind of go into. But if I don't have that rooted down feeling of my spirit, my spiritual health, right? And feeling like I'm led, like my business was not an idea out of left field. It was very much a journey that I was led to, drawn to, felt the pull. That is so crucial. Like, don't start a business just because you think it's going to be profitable. Start a business because you're passionate about it. Start a business because you want to make impact. Start a business because the status quo isn't working for you. Like, my backup plan got ripped out from under my feet because my backup plan was, well, if I fell at this, I'll join the military. And with the, what we're sticking in our arm right now, I'm saying, maybe not, right? And so I'm like, I don't know if that's going to work for me. And that's just me, guys. I'm not trying to go down a whole rabbit hole, like I said, but the world feels crazy and I want to bet on myself too, Rob. And so when I get up every day and I take that action and I sit in that stillness, I basically recommit every day to the journey. Right. And I want to iterate that because I feel like a lot of people are like, you commit once and you're good. No, fear and doubt pop up constantly. And it's like whack-a-mole. Every day you're swinging that hammer. It's so crazy.
Yeah. And I think a big thing that I'm drawing from what you're saying is that, you're developing yourself. And like I was saying earlier, you're callousing your mind and you're getting to a point that, I don't know if you've ever read the David Goggins book, Can't Hurt Me. That's a really good book I recommend to people. He talks about, callousing the mind, and basically he comes from a background of really having an incredibly difficult upbringing. And, the idea is that he has been through so many hardships. He keeps going no matter what. That his motto is, you can't hurt me. Like, there's nothing you can do that can hurt me. And I'm sure, I'm not saying I'm there yet, that I'm this badass like David Goggins by any means. The idea is that with the skills, the experience, and all that you have accumulated over the years, if Instagram went down tomorrow, if the internet went down tomorrow, you could use those skills you developed to build either your business back up in a different way or a different type of business, because now you have the experience, you have the mindset, and that's something someone can't take away from you. They can take away your bank account, but they can't take away your mindset. They can't take away your skill set. And there's a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, who is basically a survivor in a Holocaust Nazi camp, concentration camp. And he basically talks about that what allowed him to survive was his mindset, because they couldn't take that away from him. If he smiled at them while they threw shit at him, they couldn't take that away from him. That was all in here. They took away everything. They shaved his head, took away his clothes, took away his food, but he kept this mindset. And that's something I think is very apparent to me when I look at successful people. I think Grant Cardone has a movie or a video documentary, something called Undercover Billionaire, where basically he's given $100 and a blank cell phone and has to make $1 million company. And he does it in like a month. He can't use any of his former contacts, can't use any of these type of things, but he just basically used all the stuff he's done for 30 plus years to become a billionaire and started $1 million company in like 8 weeks or 6 weeks or some crazy short amount of time. But that came down to, you could take everything away from him and he still had the mindset, the skills, the experience to build back up. And I think that's something that, like you were saying earlier about teaching people personal development, I think that is is so important. And there's a saying, don't give a man a fish, teach him how to fish. And I think that's something that I do my best to do as a health coach, and you do your best to do as a business coach, is you're not giving people fish. You're teaching people how to fish. You're building, and what I say in my coaching is, I'm building up their toolbox. I'm giving you tools here. Here's how you use a hammer. Here's how you use a wrench. Oh, you don't want to use a hammer there because that's when you need, a screwdriver, and just giving people the right tool to the right times. And if people have those skills, no matter what's taken away from them, because like you said, if the internet goes down, the banks goes down tomorrow, and all your money's in the bank, you're kind of shit out of luck when it comes to
you know how to do it again, right? That's amazing, Rob. And I'm just going to relate that into fitness too. The first time I got in shape, it took me 6 years to figure out what worked. I could realistically go back to being I was 15 pounds overweight. I know that's not crazy, but for me, I saw 15 pounds and I went, we can't let this become 30. So we're going to do something right here, right now. So for me, 15 pounds overweight, quote unquote, was the cutoff for me. It was my red flag to go do something. You could put me back in that situation and it would not take me 6 years to reach victory again. It would take me about 6 months because I know what to do. Right. And so similar to Grant Cardone, he has a skill set. He knows what works and what doesn't, and you can duplicate. And when you can duplicate, you can teach. So that is fire, Rob. It's fire. I'm fired up right now. I can't tell.
Well, and that's something I think is really inspiring to me about teaching people how to grow their own food. That's something, and again, not to get into doomsday prepping, but we've become so disconnected from our food system. We've become so disconnected from our health, from our mind, from our body, from our spirit, that we're so focused on this little piece of paper that's always on a carrot stick dangling in front of us. We never have enough. We're always comparing ourselves to, X, Y, and Z. We're comparing on social media, comparing to our neighbors, comparing to whoever, saying, I'll be happy when I have this amount of money, I have this type of job, whatever. But for me, when I'm in the garden growing my own food, one, it's like printing money, first of all, because I can spend $2 on seeds and get hundreds of dollars worth of food.
Oh, I love that.
First of all, that's basically printing money. And second of all, it's getting me into my body. I'm outside, barefoot, hands getting dirty. My brain is working something. Oh, where's the best place to plant this? Where's the place? And then my spirit is working because I'm connected with the life itself. So my whole system is being activated, and I'm developing the skill set that, God forbid, we come to a point where we do need to fend for ourselves. I know decently well how to grow my own food. So I know I can at least survive, may not be thriving per se, but I can survive off that. And I think that these skills for me give me comfort. They make me feel safe. They make me feel confident in my abilities. And also beyond that, it gives me that presence, that active meditation of being connected with the earth, of doing something I believe in, and ultimately putting food on the table and printing money, which is pretty cool too.
You need to riff on that more. That was awesome. My mom always says you're never closer to God than when you're in the dirt. And that is metaphorical and that is physical. So if you are dirty in the mud in the garden, you are definitely tapped into your source, your spirituality, but also God grows us in our trials, in our dirt, right? And so like so beautiful either way that you think about it. I absolutely love that, Rob. And I feel like that's honestly a really good place to put a bookmark in it for the day, because you and I could talk for like 6 hours more, I'm sure. But that was absolutely beautiful what you just said. And I loved every bit of it. Retweet.
Oh, thank you. Well, I kind of want to just come to a closing point, like you said, and just give people an idea of, where is Lyssa Scott going? Where are you going with your business, with your coaching practice? Like where's this moving in the right direction? Because I I'm on the pulse. I'm in it on a regular basis. But for somebody who may not be, one, how can they get on the pulse? How can they get involved with what you do? And where's the movement going?
Yeah, so right now, present day Maximum Potency is teaching heart-centered entrepreneurs, people who want to build a business based on passion and service, to go full-time. They want to build their business on pure stoke. They want to do business, but make it them, and they want to go full-time. Those are my people. There's a couple ways I help them. We have high ticket one-on-one coaching, which is highly personalized, high ticket, high touch. We have the Maximum Potency group calls, which come with the one-on-one, but also you could just hop in for the group. The group meets twice a week, once for business growth, once for personal growth, and that is $99 a month. That's going to go up shortly. I have 6 spots open, and when those 6 spots are full, the price is going to hop up to $125 a month. You can do one-off calls with me if you just want to do a strategy session. I've got free coffee dates, free Instagram audits. Just shoot me a DM. We can always do one of those. And then I have a course called Heart-Centered Sales that's dropping September 12th. It's on pre-sale right now for 66% off. So it's currently $444. It's normally $999. Don't wait, walk. I mean, run, don't walk. Well, you can walk if you want. You can speed walk. Anyway, guys, if that's you, if you know your sales process is the problem and you want to do sales in a way that feels really human and really connection and service based and not salesy at all, that is a course for you. It's 6 videos, 3 bonus modules, and you get a free Instagram audit and a free one-on-one call with me if you buy during pre-sale. So I'm super stoked on that. But as far as where Rip on Life and Maximum Potency are going, like that's currently what's happening, right? That's the current here and now. It is only building. And so the one-on-one mentorships are business and personal growth. I am constantly sharpening my sword, so to speak, and I'm getting better and better at the mental and emotional work that go along with being an entrepreneur. So if you're really ready to look at the stories and look at the emotions and look at kind of what you have to conquer in order to be successful outwardly, that's all us. We have some deep one-on-one work going on. 2 retreats happen a year. They are open to clients only. So that's how you get an invite to one of those. I'm trying to do more and more in-person events. I think the world is starved for community right now. That is super, super important to me. And beyond that, we're launching apparel, we're launching more courses. I'm just super stoked for the growth. And honestly, I have a pull on my heart right now is kind of like finish what you started, see it through, make it work, make it a well-oiled machine, and don't start anything new till 2022. But I know that God is going to do something big in 2022 in year 4 of the business. I can feel it. Stay tuned to see what it is. So I don't know yet either, I would tell you.
Love it. Well, I
Your
definitely,
turn, Rob.
yeah, I feel that we're moving in the right direction. And I definitely, like I was saying, I feel this faith that, when this podcast is out, it'll likely be September on my end. And, I think that September is going to be a big month, and one that's my birthday month. It's also Health Connections birthday month. I've got some different things coming along. At this point, the Foundations of Wellness course that I did with Zavi may be out if you're listening to this at this one point, or maybe we've got the pre-sale going on as well. So that's something we've been working on for a while. I'm super excited about, and just another way to, share value with people, because not everybody, like you said, with the high ticket offer, not everybody can afford or wants to commit to doing a one-on-one coaching with me once a week. And that's okay. I'm always open to discussing the way we can make that work for you, but sometimes people want to just go at their own pace. So that's where, Zavi and I developed this course so we can share with people. We're going to the pre-sale going out, like I said, and, give people for a good price, good value content that can absolutely change their life and change their health. And so that's something I'm very excited about having come out. And then also my gardening course. Let's grow your garden. That's something I'm very excited about as well. And I just did a video for it right before this one, and that's going to be coming out likely in the early fall, September, October as well. So yeah, that's kind of the main focus. Obviously, then I have the Purium business, have the different products I work with, and the one-on-one coaching. And that's kind of where we're going. I have my free ebook, Yes, You Can Grow Your Own Food. That's a great place for people to download from my website or my Instagram bio. And again, just doing the best I can to share, my 2 main focuses right now are wellness and gardening, and just teaching people those 2 is a huge passion of mine. So I want to share that as best I can. And for everybody listening, thank you so much. Have the best day ever. Lyssa, a great conversation as always.
1,000%. Keep ripping on it, guys. And I want Rob on my doomsday team. I'm just saying that is some seriously valuable skills that you got. I know that you share knowledge in a super, super fun way. So guys, definitely go check out Rob's stuff. His Instagram is at Whole Health Connections. Mine is at Maximum Potency. That's pretty much my handle on all the major platforms, TikTok, Clubhouse, all the things. Would love to have a conversation with you. DMs are always open, wide open. I'm always in them, active. I know Rob's the same exact way. And cheers, brother. This was awesome. So good.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Have the best day ever. Peace.